Hey everybody, this is more of an audio than a video. I was just laying in bed thinking about life in general and some of the things that I've been through and why. Um, I came from like a dysfunctional family, like growing up as a kid. I went through foster care and stuff like that. And like later on down the line, okay, the beginning, like birth and till like maybe 5 or 6. Um, I was with my biological mom, and yeah, it was rough. But like I don't remember a whole lot about that because I was a kid. Um, but I remember a few things that was bad. I'm not gonna speak on it. My mother deceased now, so. But I went to foster care, and a few of those homes were bad. Like the first 3 situations was bad, not real bad, but bad enough. But I went to one foster care home. The last home I went to was good. It taught me structure, to love animals. We went to camp every summer. We went to church on Sundays. Um, we had good birthdays. We did well in school. And, my foster mother and father, like they really loved us. And so did their family, extended family. I still keep in contact with some of my foster cousins and things like that, even today. But while I was in there, in the home that I'm speaking of now, my foster father had a dog that he got from my cousin that was like, damn near starving to death when he got it. But my dad used to do that. Like he used to love animals. We had a lot of dogs. We had chickens, rabbits, ducks, all that, right down there like 12th and Susquehanna on Camac Street back in the day. So anyway, my cousin brought him this dog. I think somebody brought it back from hunting. I don't even think it was like a dog. It was like more like a wolf than a dog. But anyway, my dad nursed it back to health. And when he got it was skinny and dirty and everything. He cleaned it up, started feeding it, gave it medicine, all types of stuff. It got huge, and it was pure white with blue eyes. And it wasn't really, like I said, like a dog. It was more like it wouldn't play with the other dogs. It never barked. It howled. And the only time this beast was content was in the wintertime when it was real cold and it was snow, and it snowed a lot back then because that was like the 70s. I was about maybe 8 or 9 or 7 or 8, I'll say, when the dog bit me. No, I was 9. Excuse me, I was 9. I remember that. I was 9. So, anyway, once the dog bit me, my mom threatened to sue. So, foster care, and she could have. So foster care was, so concerned with her suing and not wanting her to sue. They gave us an ultimatum, like to go back to her, like immediately, like no home check, no nothing. So that's what they did, but they put the responsibility in my hands, and I was like 10 years old. So this was like a year after I got bit by the dog. So they came to us and said, y'all want to go back with y'all real mom, y'all can. Like all of a sudden out of nowhere. So my sister was already gone. She was the oldest. My sister Tanya, who's deceased now, she was in school already, like, a college type of school. I forget where she was going, Temple or one of them, but she was in school and she was already going to see my real mom. Man, my brother wasn't, but the whole time we was in foster care, my mom had visiting rights, so she would visit us. So anyway, so they came to us and said, like, all right, y'all want to stay here or y'all want to go back with y'all real mom? So like, I still love my mom, of course. So my brother said he was going, So of course I said I'm out too. Even though I loved my foster parents, we all did. We loved them like a whole lot. Like it was like the best thing that happened to us. But for me to make an adult decision like that at such an early age and not knowing what I was getting myself into, like we didn't get a test run, like go home with my mom like for a week or a weekend or something and see how it worked out and then make a decision from there. No, once we said yeah, it was like a done deal. I wonder how it would have turned out had we said no. Would they would have just went to her and said, well, your kids don't want to come home or whatever, or was she to sue and won or whatever. But anyway, that didn't happen because we went back. And I know that foster care services had to know what her situation was like, that, she still wasn't able to take care of us. She lived in a ran down house. She still was dibbling and dabbling with drugs, and she was having a hard time. And like, not to make excuses for her, but I'm not going to, again, because she's deceased, I'm not going to get deep into depth about her personal business, but she has suffered some things in life that, like, is like is not average at all. It goes on, but it's like one of the most horrible things that can happen to a woman, like really. So like, and I ain't really know all that till later on down the line. But once I knew these things, I understood why she was the way she was. She was dealing with a lot of demons, a lot of pain from her past, and a lot of things. And I don't know, maybe she ain't trust God, but sometimes she read the Bible, and when she was alone, I would come and she would have the Bible in her hand and stuff like that, and she believed in God, but I guess she didn't take the necessary steps to turn her life over to God or whatever, to cope with her past and stuff like that. But anyway, they gave us back to her. She was still in a bad situation. So overnight, our lives changed. We went from like having a 2-parent family, doing well in school, 3 square meals a day. Home had all the utilities on, and nice Christmases, birthdays, vacations. We used to go on family reunions, with our foster parents, families, and they embraced us like we was real family, like, so all that changed overnight. Now I'm back with my biological mother, and it's like hell, just like a nightmare overnight. Now I'm like in like the worst house on the block, clothes running out, like wearing down, and there ain't nothing new coming. Now you trying to make do and getting hand-me-downs, and ain't no food in the crib, and electric in one room, and like, yeah, it was horrible. Like, so now I'm like, can't go to school because it's too cold to get up. It's heat in one room, electric heater, the pipes frozen, so can't go to school, can't bathe adequately, this, that, and the third. Like, it just was so much, like, overnight, and we just had to handle it. We just had to handle it. It's like escaping or thinking you escaped something, then turn around and it's like, gotcha. It was like we escaped the devil, but no, it's like it was all like it felt like a setup, like like he was just letting us have a little freedom and think we escaped him, and nope, it was right there waiting. So like at an early age, I had to deal with a lot of trauma and a lot of stress, and I didn't have any coping skills either. Like, I went to church in foster care, but we was kids, you know what I'm saying? Like, I didn't really know what was going on. Church was boring. I really wanted to get up out of there. Me and my brother used to go in the basement. The church had a store in the basement. So me and my brother used to go down there and steal the candy and stuff like that. So like I wasn't really focused. I was a kid, like, 9 years old, 8, 7, those years. So anyway, coping was like hell. Like, so when I got like 12, that was the first time I got drunk. Was at 12 years old. With my sister's kid's father took me out, got me drunk at 12. When I got home, I got my ass whooped, but it ain't really mean nothing or nothing, Later on, I did it again, and after a while, my mom just accepted it. My mom smoked weed too. She used to send me to my aunt to get weed, me and my brother. And then after a while, we started stealing some out the bag and rolled it up with smoke. And then I started smoking weed. Then the issue of money, like I rapped, I boxed, I danced, all that. And like it made me feel good, I drew, like the attention. Like I was the center of attention a lot of parties and stuff like that, and people knew me in the neighborhood, and I was a little hood famous and whatever. So like really made me feel good. It did a lot for my self-esteem, but I still ain't had like the dress game was off, and this, that, and third, and girls used to like me, but and said I was cute, or he could dance, he could rap, whatever, he could box, whatever, but, I still didn't have, like, I didn't come from, like, a home that had, I still was, like, the broke kid, the poor kid, so, that kind of, like, interfered, guilt by association, like, ain't no girl that comes from a family that have and mess with like a guy that don't, especially when you young, like teens, like, ridicule. They ain't gonna attach themselves to the ridicule, and I suffered a lot of that in school and stuff like that. So I was looking for a way to cope. So it started off like as a way to get money. I started selling drugs like at 14. Coke. I bought my first drug case at school at 14 for coke inside my grass. And later on, I started using it, and then not too long after that, crack came out. When crack first came out, people was like using it like, a social drug. Like everybody was using it. Like the prettiest girls, the guys that was getting money, putting it in weeds. And then, like after a while, people started falling off from it. Some people stopped, some people didn't. I wasn't one of those people that stopped. I kept doing it and doing it and doing it and doing it, So like, sometime, a lot of years went by, I'll say that. But that was when I was like 18. I think I started doing that. Because when I was 16, I had, I had my first son at 16 years old. So everything started young for me. I was already selling coke, like I said, like powder. And then I got into crack and, and all through those years I got in a lot of trouble because I burned people for their work, for their drugs, a lot of drugs, not like, a couple bundles or bags. No, I'm talking about weight. They give it to me because I had a reputation for being a good hustler. So they give it to me, and like I might give them money, turn over the money at first, but then after a while, after I get their trust and get them to give me a lot, I just keep everything. And I did that to some ruthless people, Jamaicans, black people, whatever. I didn't care, you know. And throughout, like I had moments when I backed up off it. I stopped, you know, for a while or whatever, and tried to regain some normalcy in my life. Relationships, I had a kid, another kid, you know, which was my second kid, but I still was selling drugs, you know, weed and wet and whatever. And I had jobs too. It was my foster father taught me how to do masonry work, cement work, and you know I learned how to do carpentry and stuff like that. So I had jobs in between, or sometimes I'll do both, sell drugs and work. Then I had my third son, and I was selling drugs, and I remember my son's mom. She said, "Yo, you know, like, why don't you come down my job and see can you get a job?" And it was this joint called the Oak Go Internet down Third Market. And first I was like, I'm good, you know. Then I said, all right, let me go down here and just do it for her so she can leave me alone. So I went down there and I got the job. And like in 45 days, I was like a supervisor. In like 45 days, you know, and it was good money. Like the money was crazy. So like I did that for a while. But throughout, like I didn't love myself, and I accepted any type of behavior from myself, so I accepted it from other people too. You know, then I became like a bad decision maker, or like just accept anything, like from myself and from other people. You know, and as far as females was concerned, like, you know, I could, like, if my drug habit became a problem and like they backed up off me because of it, I was all right with that. Like I would choose the drugs. You know, that's how I was with my kids' moms, and like I was cool with that. But like I said, in between and before, like the drugs was a issue, like females, like I used to run through them like it was nothing. Like I really did, you know. I used to run through them like they used to come at me, like, you know, crazy, like. So like I never had no real issue with females, you know, and getting them or whatever. Despite, you know, I might didn't always get the exact one I wanted, but like I would get them though, like, and you know, for a while, like it was like on a shallow tip, like I would just run through them, like I wasn't trying to like be in no relationship or fall in love with nobody. Like, and most of the time, like I had somebody already anyway, you know. One of my kids' moms, I was already like I was cheating on, you know, and that became like a way of life, you know. And then years later, I was like in my 40s, you know, like I met somebody, and I ended up, well, she asked me to marry her. And that like I was flattered by it. She treated me real good in the beginning, but then my drug problem became an issue again. So she like tried to tolerate it to whatever degree that she could. I had to understand that. But then I asked myself later, like, was that? And like, I ain't cheat on her or none of that. Never put my hands on her, never cheated on her or nothing. And that was like the first time I ever did that with any female. It was like not cheated, like not the hands thing, but I went through that too. Yeah, I ain't gonna talk to you and lie. Not, you know, if I'm gonna talk to you about anything, whatever I talk to you about, I'm not gonna lie about it. Like if I'm gonna lie about it, I'll just will leave it out. Period. You know, because that ain't lying. Like everything ain't for everybody. You know, some things for just me and God. But if I do put a topic on the table, I'm not gonna sit here and, you know, try to sugarcoat nothing or make myself look good. So yeah, I went through the physical stuff too with females. You know, again, as a result of poor coping skills, and I know how to cope with my emotions when my feelings was hurt or if I felt disrespected by the person that's supposed to love me and supposed to see me as a man and this, that, and the third, and now you the one disrespecting me, and it, that hurt. Like the same things somebody else could have said the same things one of my kids' moms or girlfriend at the time or whatever. If I felt like I was in love with them, somebody else could have said something, the same thing they said, and it could have been bad or negative or hurtful, and I could have dealt with it. But when it's coming from somebody you love and you feel like that looked up to you or thought the world of you at one time, and now they insulting you, like it hurt, and like I ain't know how to cope with it. So sometimes it resulted in me getting physical with them, which I know that's never the right way. I would never do that now. Like I said, once I got married, like I never did that. Like I had like one incident that was accidental, really. It was accidental. I was mad and all that, but what happened was accidental. But anyway, what I was saying was like, so now here's somebody that, like my kids' moms, because I don't have no biological kid with my wife, but I got a stepdaughter, that I love. But with my wife, it was like she treated me in a way in the beginning that I was never treated before. Like it was always me, like either, I was the one doing the giving or not. But they never really was, the kids' moms, like they never really like, well, my first son, mom, we was kids. So I was 16, she was going on 15 when we had our son. So, I ain't expect nothing from that. But I really didn't expect a lot from anybody because I didn't expect a whole lot from myself no more. So, but once I met my wife and, like I said, she asked me to marry her. I was highly flattered, at first, at the very beginning, because she like kind of pursued me. Like how I met her was like one of them chance situations. I actually met her through a brother, and like, that wasn't my intention. Well, I wasn't like, I ain't crack on her or none of that. Like I left my phone number with her for her brother, and she called me, and at first I was like, nah, like I'm good, like nah, and like I'm gonna say like I had a gut feeling, like my gut was saying no, I ain't saying it was because of her, like anything about her so much, but my gut was saying no, because at the time when I met her, I was trying to get it together, and I was in a good place with myself, so, and I ain't want to like, if it ain't broke, don't fix it kind of thing. Like I ain't want to, interfere with that where I was at, and I was feeling good, and, I was doing all right, I wasn't using drugs as much or none of that, I was getting at $1 and this, that, and third, so I wanted to like ride that wave. So, but anyway, when she called me, like maybe like the third time, I'm like, when she texted me, like the third time, I was like, all right, let me see what's up with her. And then I went and kicked it with her or whatever, and she was cool, like she was a real cool chick, she made me feel good. I like being around her and all that. Like I said, she done things for me that like no other female had ever done for me. So it was like a first for me. Like, like she had a Mercedes, one of those Mercedes station wagons. I think it was like a C240, silver. And like she used to just like tell me to drop her off at work and just give me the car. Like she pretty much gave it to me. Like I drove it more than she did. It was pretty much like my car. And like it wasn't like sweating stuff like that. Um, and like she would give me money, income tax out of her paychecks, whatever, buy me stuff, all that. So like I had never like been exposed to that before, like never in life, like really. And so I was like really flattered, you know. Then when she asked me to marry her, it like I was really at first I was like no to that too because like I said in the beginning, you know, when she first you know said something to me or pursued me or whatever, I was like no because you know it wasn't her. It was like I was trying to tell her like no, I need to get what I need to get in life first. You know, like I want financial security. I want a home, this, that, and the third. And like she was just like, man, you good? Like you don't need all that. Like you know what I mean? Like pretty much like you fine right where you are for me. So again, that was like, okay. So I rocked with it, you know, and she worked. She had a good job, like she smoked weed. She ain't had like no drug habit or none of that, you know, and you know, I was attracted to her, you know, um, and I became more and more attracted to her and more loving. But then, like I said, my drug problem reared its ugly head, you know, and as time went on, you know, like, yeah, she had her share of issues too, which I might could have helped her with more so if I had stayed straight and just kept building and kept growing and kept prospering. And, you know, because like I said, she treated me like, you know, she treated me good. And I could see she would follow my lead. If I had been a leader, she would have followed my lead. You know, I could see that. Like, I was in a good position to have a good structured marriage, like the head and not the tail, like, you know, and be a good provider. And she would have followed my lead, took my advice and all that, you know, like a woman, you know, and like, not to say like, you know, the man is above the woman and none of that, but I'm just saying I would have been the protector, and since I would have had the role of protector, provider, and all that, she would have played her part, you know. Like I even would cook dinner and stuff like that, and like I ain't mind. I love cooking dinner for her and stuff like that, giving her massages, the whole nine. Like I loved it, buying her stuff, all that. It was just because of my lifestyle and things that I didn't deal with from my past, like my drug issue, number one, but it was even deeper than that, you know, because it was a reason for the drug issue that I never dealt with. When this situation came along, you know, instead of me, you know, being a backbone and a pillar, you know, I had no relationship with God, number one, which is now the most important thing to me, because I know that like, no matter what, who there for you, who not, who love you, who don't, God in your life, none of that don't matter. You will still be just fine. You will prosper. You will move forward. You will do all that, no matter who turn their back on you, none of that. No matter who doubt you, no matter who hate you, no matter who try to slander you, be spiteful, put you down, none of that, whatever. God got you, because all that's the devil. Like I believe when we in that state, we allow the devil to use us as a vessel. God uses us as a vessel too, but because we have free will, we get to choose which one we want. And for all those years, I chose the devil unknowingly. But two, what the devil is, once you accept them in, you accept those demons. It might be fun at first. You might think you're getting what you want at first and all that, but they take over. See what I'm saying? God don't do that. God lets you continue to exercise free will. You have to be willing to obey God. You have to be willing to follow his instructions. He don't make you do it, or he don't deceive you or trick you into doing it, or, you know, like drugs. You become out of control. It's like a form of possession. Like now you're doing something you don't even want to do. You know, it just took total control. and then you don't know no way out, because ain't no way out without God, you know. But like, anyway, like later on, not too much later, in my marriage, like the drugs became a problem. I was selling drugs. First, I was selling pills. Like, I had one of those pill mill doctors, so I was like pumping tons of 30s, 10s, Xannies, Adderall, syrup, the whole nine, lick, lean, whatever they call it now. But it was purple then, and I was selling it. So that's how I was getting my money. So I was getting my money like in thousands at a time, without like having to be on the corner or on the street or in the trap house or none of that. Like just a phone call, and I was like dumping it a lot of times to one person or two people. So that's how my money was coming in. But then the doctor got busted, so I made some friends along the way. Too. I was in Kensington. That's where I was at. My POs sent me to like a halfway house there. So that's how I met my wife. So once I got out the halfway house, I stayed down there with my wife. And like I said, I was selling pills, ride around all day, selling pills and shit, drop her off at work, I'll just ride around selling pills, going, seeing people like I ain't have to work. Or I go back home and just go to bed. But like I said, I wasn't cheating or nothing like that. So like I had time on my hands, so sometimes I'd be bored. And because I wasn't cheating and I'm a high octane type of person, like I like activity. Like and that was also a part of my drug addiction, was I'm an adrenaline junkie. I love like activity. I love doing stuff. And because I used to rap, dance, box, I was used to attention. Like I love to be seen. I love to be the life of the party. I love to be the entertainer. I love to be seen in a good way. Like, just like any rapper could tell you, like, that's a high in itself when like people see you and know you, and like in a good way, and they like, yo, they go so and so, they go, Dre, Black Skills, whatever, that's the name I used to rap under. Or they see you and like, yo, this guy can box so good, man. This guy can be a world champion and stuff like that, make you feel good, and like girls like basically falling at your feet. You know what I mean? Like I never got rich or none of that, but on my level, you know what I mean? I was hood fabulous, like I said, like females wasn't like hard for me to get. Like like a lot of them used to like just throw themselves at me, like, and I catch a lot of times I catch them, But now that I was married and some things transpired in my life that taught me some lessons, so I matured, the hard way. Like I was like, all right, I ain't doing that. Like I ain't gonna do that to her. Like, why? So I didn't, But so I started looking forward to her coming home. Like, I couldn't wait till it was time to go pick her up from work. Because like I said, I enjoyed her company. I really did. But presently, okay, but anyway, back and forth now. Like, okay, I went to jail, like the first time she was there, I had a couple incidents. I had to go to the hospital. She was right there. I went to jail. She was there. My drug problem in the beginning, like she tried to just stick by me through it, whatever. But then I made it a habit. Like I would go to jail, get free from the drugs, get out and get back on drugs, and start hustling again and go right back to jail. So I made that a pattern, and that wasn't like her life, or that wasn't the kind of life she was trying to pursue, I guess, anymore. Because like she dealt with a drug dealer before, like, but I don't know if he went to jail like me, but I went to jail. I became a frequent flyer. So anyway, over that time, her behavior towards me, of course, started to change to a point where I felt like she ain't love me no more. Like, it wasn't attracted to me. or didn't love me, or then I started to question, like, did she ever really love me, or like, because I couldn't really see, like, okay, why would she ask me to marry her? Like, I wasn't rich or nothing like that. Like, you know what I'm saying? We seen our share hard times together, too. And like sometimes, like when I went to jail, I came home, I ain't had nothing, and she still was like, all right, give it another chance. So I said, well, maybe she saw like some potential in me. But, um, you know, and for a while, like, yeah, I was mad at her. Like, I went, like, I went, I got out of jail. I came home. I started screwing up immediately. So I got locked up again shortly after. And shortly after that, I discovered she was seeing somebody. So like I said, I never cheated on her. So I was like pissed off, like, like, really? So I came home, she supposedly stopped seeing this guy and we got back together, but then that was like real short lived. I guess this guy was like really in her system or in her head or in her heart, I should say, that like 2 weeks in, she just like bounced on me with him, like basically, and I seen it coming because she said she said she had to go to the store, and I'm like, okay, I'll go with you. And she like, nah, it's cool. Want me to bring you something back? And of course, she never came back. She went back to do, and then I'm in the house all night, like pissed off, like ready to like destroy some shit. And I thought about it. I said, you know what? Nah, that ain't worth nothing. So she texted me, yeah, this ain't working out, this, that, and the third. So I went back where I came from, and then she started to like show like she cared about him more than she cared about me. That's how I've seen it. Like, it just is what it is. Like, I gotta be honest if I'm gonna be honest. Like, I said, damn, she cared about this guy more than she cared about me. And then, when she did that, like I said, first she said she stopped seeing him to get back with me when I came from jail. And then like that lasted like maybe a week or two. And then she was back with him. They stayed together like 3 years. And then when they broke up after that 3 years, she came right back to me, like, I guess before he was like even really all the way out the picture, So then I just started to look at her as like, okay, she got some stuff with her, like, do she love anybody? Like, that's how I started to feel like, is she playing games? Like, like the same thing you done to me with him, you done to him with me, and I just started to see that. But then too, like, I could be stuck on stuff like what you did and this, that, and the third. But today, like, that ain't where I'm at, because today I do have God in my life, and today I just know like we all suffer, not all, excuse me, but if we live in the evil, then we don't have God. So, the same way I was spiritually empty, just because we say thank God for this and God is good and we say our grace over our food, that don't establish no real relationship with God. Like, it just don't. If that's all we doing, we ain't even attempting to go to church or, serve God in no deeper meaning or meaningful way, or had no intimate relationship with him, then we don't have God. So one thing God helped me understand was, don't like hate the person, hate the actions and the source of it. And what it is like, we don't have God. Like, and how can you expect somebody else to deal with things in a godly manner? Because I'm like looking at it like, okay, we married. Like, you ain't supposed to see no another man. Like, is you tripping? And like, I couldn't even fight for it because I felt like it was pointless. Like, you already made your choice. Like, that ain't gonna undo the fact that you slept with him, the fact that you lived with him, the fact that you told him you loved him, the fact, that it wasn't gonna undo nothing. I could have killed him, but you still, that wasn't gonna change your heart towards him, because, it just wasn't. So I just looked at it that way. Like, and I'm glad I did look at it in a logical way, because that's how a lot of us end up in jail. Violence don't change nothing. Violence is not going to make somebody love you or undo something that they did. But I also looked at it like, okay, I'm not her judge either. That like the Bible speak heavy about adultery, and it say some things about an adulterous woman. It like warns you about an adulterous woman like poison. Like it's like the Bible, like God, the Bible, it's in Proverbs. So King Solomon got Proverbs, and they, various people wrote the Proverbs, but like I can't say it's like straight from God's mouth, because maybe it's just like men who've been through something and their advice on this kind of thing, because they've been through it and they know the pain that comes along with it when you're the woman that you love, and the woman that once saw you as that made you feel like Superman, and this, that, and the third goes out and lays with another man. I guess they must have witnessed that, because a lot of the stuff in Bible, well, the whole Bible was written by men, but a lot of stuff in the Bible is man's personal take on whatever, from his own experience or whatever. So anyway, I learned like not to crucify people because of their actions, because two, I learned through reading the Bible that if you break one of God's laws, you broke them all. And God is the judge again, because like I could be hypocritical and I could make somebody's sins worse than mine. Like I could say, okay, I did drugs, I stole, I sold, I shot, I've been in jail, I stabbed, whatever. But you committed adultery, so you going to hell. I'm not. I can be redeemed, but you can't. So like, no, that ain't my place to say that, because I definitely ain't no saint. So anyway, and then two, I maintain like love for her, and I still love her. But also like I did what I did to her as far as the disappointment so many times that she lost trust in me, and like I allowed myself to go down and let her see me at my worst, so she lost attraction to me. I went like I was Superman, and like I kept going to dibble and dab with the kryptonite, and it was kicking my ass. So I let her see me like that over and over and over, like, and the disappointment, like I said, she would give it another go, and I would do the same thing again. So I can take the share of blame, or take responsibility for my actions. But I also learned out of it too that in order for me to change and for me to be better, I have to learn to love myself. And loving myself, part of that is not accepting anything, or not like begging somebody to love me. Love me again like you used to, or like in the beginning, because now that's like unhealthy, because that's like chasing a drug. I'm looking for you to make me feel like you made me feel in the beginning, when that was then, and I'm not comparing a person to a drug, because a drug is like an inanimate object. It don't think, it don't feel, it very rarely it changes, but the purpose of it don't change. Like, yeah, the grade of whatever might change, like the grade of weed might change. One batch might be weak and another might be strong, but the whole purpose of the drug is just to get high. But see, like people, we change. Our hearts change, our minds change, our words change, our thoughts change, our beliefs change, our socks change. People can change. And me, I'm an avid believer in people can change, because I'm changing every day. And if you would have asked somebody, they would have said, oh, he ain't never going to change. Because, like I lived the life for like 40 years. Like I'm 52. I started when I was like 12. So, I'm a strong believer in change. But also what I learned through like getting sober and getting a relationship with God is that they have a saying in in AA literature, and NA too, um, no human power could relieve this ailment. Like no human power. Do you know how heavy that is? Like no human power. Even the people that devised um, the AA book. That's why it's a spiritual program. They didn't recommend any type of medication, psychology, none of that. They recommended like God, like steps, which first you admit that you powerless over whatever it is, and see addictions come in many forms. My wife was hurt. My wife self-esteem was attacked, like she was told by somebody that she loved, that she thought the world of her, that nobody would ever want her after him. And I don't know, she might not like me saying this or putting this out or whatever, but people know. But she had a child with this guy, and while she was home with her child, with their son, I guess, she told me, but I don't know how it was that day or whatever when he did what he did, but he went out and he married somebody else, and then he wanted her to just stay in place. So like all those things will attack your self-esteem to a great degree. So I started to observe like she started to live like she had something to prove. She a shopaholic, yes, because like I said, he was a drug dealer. And I don't know if like she was like that since she was a child, and like her mom and pop always got her everything she wanted or whatever, or spoiled her or whatever. But I know I knew of him. I ain't really like know him, hanging out with him and that, but I knew him, to some degree. And, from what she explained to me, so I'm just going off what I was told, like straight from the horse's mouth. She was able to spend money and buy cars and do this and do that and will, so I guess he spoiled her to some degree. Then when I came along, like I didn't maintain it, but like I did like partially some of this. I treated her the same way. Like I tried to give her what she needed and what she wanted, and make life a little easier for her, and stuff like that. So like, and then like later she told me like him and I were the only two guys that ever really took care of her, but I just try to pay attention to the whole situation and not just like bits and pieces to the whole thing. But again, no matter what has happened to us in life, one thing that I learned is two wrongs don't make it right. Like we can't go around hurting other people and stepping on other people and treating other people like trash and using other people, for our own selfish and personal gain, and just throwing them away like they nothing, because like karma and consequences come back. But everybody that do bad things don't mean your heart is black or wicked, and you can be deep into it. Like I've done some things like I definitely don't want to talk about, but again, I still wanted better, and I still sought God, seeking him now as we speak, because I wanted to change. So that means like I wasn't the devil's spawn, or I ain't have a black heart, and I put that same hope in people, but I learned to back off and let God do what he gonna do, because the first part is acceptance. Like first you gotta realize something is wrong, that we have a problem. And then you gotta be willing to admit you can't do nothing about it. That if you scared, say you scared. If you lost, say you lost. If you confused, say you confused. You got to throw your hands up and say, God, I don't know what I'm doing here. Like, but I don't like what I'm doing here. I don't like the way I feel. I don't like the problems I have, but I don't like this solution that I've developed either. Because if you stay closed mouthed, then, who can help you. That's like you got cancer and you go to the hospital and then you just sit there and they saying like, yo, like, okay, sir, excuse me, sir, you here to be treated for something? And I just sit there and say nothing. How they gonna know, what's wrong? Or you don't want to be truthful. You got cancer and you go in there and you tell them, oh, I just got a headache. I've just been having these real bad headaches. So they're going to treat the bad headaches, not the cancer. So I learned, like, I have to be honest, but do I have to tell a human being everything? No. Some things are just between God and self. But I do need to tell human beings something because it's human beings that I'm hurting. I don't know if I'm hurting God because I don't think I can hurt God. I just don't. I might hurt his feelings. Like he might be angry at me. He might have pity on me. He might be hurt because he didn't create me to do the things that I'm doing. In that sense, like, wow, was the devil right about my creations? Like, look at him. Like, wow, in that sense. But we hurt each other, and hurt people. We don't have to, but like I said, if you don't have no knowledge of anything else, I don't have a relationship with God, and I don't have a therapist. And even if I had a therapist, even if I thought I had a relationship with God, if I'm not willing to address my issues, or because we know we know when we not doing things right. When you deceptive about it, when you try to hide it, when you ashamed and that guilt and that shame you try to bury and turn the other cheek to, we know when we wrong, so we don't need nobody to tell us that. When we lie, we know we lying. When we being deceptive, we know we being deceptive. If I go out and cheat, I know I went out and cheated. You know what I'm saying? If I tell you I love you and don't mean it, I know I don't mean it. If I'm trying to use you for your money, I know I'm trying to use you for your money. Like, nobody have to tell me that. So I don't waste time telling people what's wrong with them no more. I just don't. Because I knew what was wrong with me. I just didn't know what to do about it. And I just didn't, for a time, I just threw in the towel. Like, I just accepted it. And tried to cope with it for whatever little benefit I was getting out of it. But it was like a moment of pleasure for a lifetime of pain. I would have some fun here and there, or it would feel good here and there. But for the most part, I had to pay for it. And the price was like, whoa, outrageous. So I just decided okay, I don't want to live like that no more. And two, now I understand when you love somebody and you want them to, you want the best for them and you want to be the best for them, and you could picture this happy life together with them, and you working on it, or they already was there and you was the one that was out there screwing up to where you don't know where they came from, what they overcame to get in that position, when you could have added to it, when you could have complemented it and helped it grow, and you failed to do that. And now they fell back where they was at, trying to deal with you without God in their life though. And now they slip back into their old ways. And now you trying to come out of yours. And you still love them. But now God has made you aware to see that you can't help them though. And he also let you know what's yours and what's not. Okay, you didn't create the problems in this person, but you failed to put the using the initiative to help them when you could have. Even if you wasn't meant to be with that person, if that wasn't your soulmate, or that person it was handpicked for you. See, God take our bad and use it for good. You know, once the deal is made and the contract is signed, and we turn it over to God, He'll make the best out of it. Despite He'll make that your soulmate, I believe. You know, but it got to be both parties. Got to be willing to do the work. Got to be willing to let God in, number one, and go from there. Ain't nobody perfect. It's not gonna be perfect, but it can be a whole hell of a lot better. But like, what do you do when you see that you like lost somebody's heart? When you see like that person ain't attracted to you no more, when they might deal with you, but they only dealing with you to like because you benefit them in some way, like maybe financially, or if they need your help financially or something like that, they'll deal with you, but you don't see no signs of anything else. You know, like that. You know, I just say pray for them, keep doing what you're doing, and pray for them because ask for strength not to go backwards, because that'll become a repetitive cycle too. Like you thinking you could change them, you ain't going to listen. They got this saying, before I get you sober, you can get me high. And that ain't just mean, that don't just pertain to drugs. That's life in general. Before you like make somebody see the error in their ways and want to change and all that stuff, you gonna fall back to your old ways. Before you make somebody, like, even if they loved you in the beginning, like really truly loved you deep, and they fell out of love with you, before you, the human being, you or I, make them fall in love again, you gonna fall out of love. You know, before that happens, you gonna suffer a lot of hurt, and you might feel like a sucker later for all that you tried, and you trying to tolerate this from them and tolerate that and cater to this and cater to that. Okay, I'm gonna just love them and they gonna love me again. I'm gonna just let them have their way. I'm gonna just give them everything I can give them and do this and do that, and she or he'll love me again. And you're gonna find out, nope. You know, you just making matters worse. You adding fuel to the fire. You know, because now you like, you adding fuel to the fire basically, because you catering to their negativity, and that's never helpful. That's enabling. You enabling them, you know, and they ain't gonna love you. Like they might, you know, acquire a lot from you and nothing from nobody else. Like in a relationship sense, like. With that, once a female see your weak side and she see like you'll do anything to get her back and to keep her, she'll play on that, like, and she'll use you, right, and have all these stipulations and requirements for you, and you know, voids you gotta fill and all that, but and you could be doing it and she'll chase somebody else that not doing nothing for her, that don't have nothing, not doing nothing for her, and she won't even ask him for nothing, you know, and she'll give him her all, sexually, you know, maybe financially too. She might take the money you giving her and give it to him, you know, because that's how those situations be, man. Like, I've been around for a while, and I thank God, like, I've been observing since a kid. I had to, like, you know, I explained some of my past to you, so I had to be observant. Well, I ain't have to, but I chose to be, because it saved my neck a lot of days, you know, to like observe people and see what made them tick, and like what was up with them and where they came from. Like, I did that since I was a kid, because it got me out of the way of some train wreck sometime that was people, you know. That's how I probably dodged abuse throughout my life in foster care. That's how I dodged abuse and maybe some real bad situations, because like I like knew when to like back off, like, okay, hold on, or I knew not to even mess with it. But sometimes, you know, you can get pulled into stuff despite, like I said, we ain't perfect and we ain't impenetrable. And two, like every situation that might look like it was based on deception or whatever, it might not be. It might not be. It might look that way after the fact, because to every action is a reaction. So like somebody might start off one way and then you screw up, and then of course they feelings gonna change and this and that's gonna change, and of course that's life. That's what's gonna happen. I mean, I'm gonna do that. Like, I ain't gonna just keep treating you the same way, like, oh, it's nothing, because then something would truly be wrong with me. If I met you and you was one way, that called for my best treatment of you, not to say like you deserve to be treated bad, or I dictate how you should be treated. I'm not saying that, but I'm just saying you was doing things that call for a good response, and then you start doing things that don't call for a good response. Then that's what you're gonna get. Like, I'm not gonna keep bringing you roses and flowers, and your behavior is total opposite of what deserve roses and the best and this, that, and the third. No, not and that goes for me or anybody else. So I'm just trying to like figure life out on a day by day basis, the do's and don'ts. But for the most part, I'm trying to figure out, because it's very important. One of the most important rules and laws in the Bible is love thy neighbor as thou love thyself. And then in the Bible too, it got warnings about, like I said, it got like heavy warnings about adulterous women. I guess I don't know. I ain't figured that totally out yet. I guess because when you involved in something and your heart is in it, you want the best outcome, or the outcome that you want. But some things I haven't figured out yet, even for me, like, in my behaviors. It warns against the way I was too, and still could be on some days. It warned against, being intoxicated. So what I'm saying is, I can't like make somebody else's sins worse than mine. That's up to God to decide that. All I ask today is for God to help me make the right decisions. And if somebody is not to be messed with, and I've already crossed that line, to give me the strength to back off and do his will and be obedient, and to leave it alone, and not try to force it or try to tell myself I'm gonna fix them and this, that, and the third. And because could nobody tell me nothing will fix me. Like I said, no human power. But God could and would if he was sought. That's what the literature and the AA and NA say, and CA and whatever A, all except for K and A. That's what it say, But am I going to keep loving people despite? Yes, I am. Am I going to help them? If I can help them, with no strings attached, with no expectations, yes, I am. But not at the expense of like being abused or used up, But the Bible says also, though, love those that curse your name. Love those that use you spitefully. If they ask you to walk 1 mile with them, walk 2. If they ask you for your cloak, give them your cloak and your tunic. And that's like the equivalent of, in the biblical language, that's like the equivalent of your coat and your hat. If they ask you for your coat, give them your coat and your hat. And I guess your heart will play a role in who you allow to do that, in that sense. Because like, ain't nobody using me, never. If I give anybody anything, it's because I want them to have it. But have I gave times when I felt like, oh, I can't say no? Like, if I don't come through, then I'm gonna be useless, like pointless. Like, I gotta come through. Like, I can't tell this person no. They ain't gonna love me, or they ain't gonna like me no more, or I'm gonna be useless, and then my chances of getting back or advancing is gonna be in the bucket. Yeah, I've done that. I ain't gonna lie, I've done that. But what I'm doing is practicing how not to do that. Because like I said, money can't buy you love, and love don't cost a thing. For real, for real. Love don't cost nothing. Love is freely given. And when you do think you buying love, you ain't buying love. You buying nothing. You buying deception. That's pretty much it. But I'm just keep praying for people like somebody kept praying for me. I'm gonna keep praying, and keep praying. Because somebody definitely prayed for me. And if you love somebody, no matter what, keep loving them. Me, I don't know. I can't just turn my heart off. You could deal with them differently. Yes, you can change the way you deal with them, but you don't have to not love them or hate them. And if you really love them, you ain't going to be able to do that anyway. You ain't going to be able to not love them or turn that love into hate. Like, you can turn it into anger or dislike at times. But if you really, truly, truly, truly love somebody, good, bad, or indifferent, you're going to still love them. Richer for poor, for better, for worse, for sickness and health. If you really love them, even if you back up off them and give them 5 feet, you still going to love them. And sometimes that can be like real sticky, real questionable, like, damn, like, if you loved me, you would have never did this, but why not? What could they do to help you? No human power could relieve this sickness or ailment or evil. And maybe they was smart enough to know that, so they backed up off you. And signs might be that they was willing to give it another chance. More than 3 times. Even if they saw somebody else and still turn back to you later. Not because you had money, because you didn't. Or not because you had like nothing material or none of that. Maybe because they know like that's where the true love at. And maybe that's what they really want, but because of what they've been through, the first signs they see of that going left, defense mode. They go right in defense mode. And we can be very selfish and only worry about our own feelings and only, want to deal with people when they making us happy, but that ain't life, because nobody gonna always make nobody happy. Not always. But certain problems, yeah, certain issues that you might have, they will clearly state, oh, you want to be alone. Because there are some issues not fit for a relationship. Like when you don't love yourself, you can't be in a relationship because you ain't going to love the other person either. You might think you love them, because it's like some things you might do for them. You might feel like you love them or things they might do for you. But and especially when both people don't love themselves, that's going to be tragic. But if you see some potential and you see an inkling of whatever and you think it's worth it, then hang in there, go for it. Like, try to still love that person while you fixing yourself, but just love them different. Like, you can't cater, don't make a monster. Don't add fuel to nobody's fire. Like, don't cater to their negative behaviors. Don't do that, because that ain't love. Sometimes you love somebody, you gotta let them go. And leave them in God's hands and just pray, and pray for their safety, pray for their health, pray for their well-being, but pray they become willing to address their issues. Pray that they become willing to turn their lives over to God, and God will clean them up, just like He cleaning you up, me up, and fix you up. And if He choose for you to be back together, you will. But see, some people think that Like say if they say if God mean for it to be so and so and so, then that's what it's going to be. No, it's not. Not all the time. You have, again, God gave us free will and he does not infringe on that. If a serial killer chooses to kill, God don't stop him. You see people dying every day. God don't stop them because they choose to do what they doing. People getting high, dying, prostitutions, in marriages, sleeping around, this, that, and the third. And God takes marriage very seriously. He says that's like a bond for life. Let no man bring to asunder without brought together. Like marriage, he said you become one. Like and like he don't play that about marriage, about a lot of things, but people commit adultery. He don't stop that. Because he gave us free will. And that was one of the most beautiful things in the world that God could have did. He created something that he didn't even want to control. Like, ain't that nothing? Like, come on, think about it. We want to control our kids. We want to control our mates. We want to control a dog. Our kids, we conceive, but we did not make it possible to make the procreate, to reproduce. We ain't make that possible. God made us, and he made that possible. But we always want control. But here we have God, the creator. He don't even want to control us. He create you and let you go on your own. Like, go ahead, do as you please. Do as you will, freedom. Now that is like a love I can't begin, and a mercy and all that I can't begin to understand. You know, how you create something and don't want to control it. See, the devil all about control. You know. So it's like you have to be willing to accept the gifts that God has given us in order for it to work. You have to be willing to be obedient to God. You have to want to change and be willing to take the necessary steps for that to happen. Like if two people together, like one decide to get themselves together and align themselves with God, you know, to seek out God and God's will for their life and turn their will over to God. And saying, God, you doing the driving from here. Like, I'm just show me however you choose to send the message verbally, through a movie, a book, intuition, in a dream, however you choose to speak to me, and whatever you ordain, I'm going to accept that. If you say no, it's no. Even if it hurt, I'm accepting that. Because I have faith in you, I trust you, I love you, and I believe that if you said no, you know what you doing. And it's for the right reasons that you telling me no. And God said, don't fall in your own understanding. And I had to learn what that meant the hard way. That means don't fall on your own understanding. Like, I could understand this and understand that and, you know, understand how somebody got where they at. And I can think I know what they need to get them to change that or to make them right and all that. And I don't. Because no human power. What am I, a human? So my power can't help them. My prayers can help them, and I back up and mind my business and stop trying to save people from their own lessons and consequences, because consequences ain't the end of the world. Lessons turn blessings, you know, and like we call it a rescue ranger. You know, oh man, I can't see him or her hungry. I can't see him or her on the street. I can't see him or her this, that, and the third because I love them. But how about that's where they need to be right now to learn a lesson? How about that's where I needed to be? How about I needed to go through what I went through to wake up, to turn myself over to God? How about I needed to be abandoned? I needed to be hungry. I needed to be homeless because I ain't appreciate none of that. And I would have never turned to God if it wasn't. If I would have been rich or if I would have succeeded with, okay, I'm going to say this. What knowledge I had of God, which was none, coming up, if I had succeeded rapping, boxing, dancing, or whatever, I would have been a wreck. I would have been arrogant. I would have been a very disliked person. And I would have never found God. And I would have perished. Disliked, arrogant, and had committed way more sin than I committed. Because I wasn't humble. I was arrogant. I was cocky. I was angry. I was hard, and I was hard-headed. So I would have never found God had I hit the jackpot early in life. I would have thought I was my own God. I got money. What? I got women. I got all the material things I ever wanted. What I need God for? I'm God. That's how I would have felt. And I see a lot of people today who feel that way. And just don't know, the situation that they really getting themselves into. Like some people believe it ain't no God. But guess what? I learned the hard way that it is. Through trial and error, consequence, his mercy and his salvation, I learned that it is a God. Because again, ain't no human power get me through the things that I went through. Ain't no human power saved my life when I put my life in life-threatening positions. When I put myself in life-threatening positions. Ain't no human beings get me through none of that. Not even me. You know how stuff just pass you by like bad things or something happened to benefit you and save you that you don't know how it happened. You don't have no knowledge of how it happened. That's being filled with the Holy Spirit. That's God. Like even when you at your worst, at your most wicked point, at your darkest point, that's God. That's God. When you say, man, I don't know how I made it through this. Again, that's God. But possession is when you wake up in jail and you murdered somebody and you don't know how you got there. Possession through intoxication, wine and spirits, hallucinogenics, coke, crack, dope, pills, whatever. When you're intoxicated, them demons, we let the demons in. And not only through intoxication, through lust, through materialism, ill-gotten gain, bad pride, because it's a good pride, like taking pride in your appearance, but not in an arrogant way, taking pride in loving God. So it's a good pride, and it's a bad pride. A bad pride is you think you the bomb because of the car you drive. Or you hungry and you too proud to say you hungry when you don't have no other way to eat. Or thirsty. That's a bad pride. A bad pride is also, and a dangerous pride is also being scared to ask for help. You got too much pride. You don't want to be ashamed. I can't let nobody know I'm going through this or I'm going through that. So I'm just going to fake it and try to make my own way. And I'm going to keep saying this. No human power can relieve some issues that we go through. So again, you don't have to be a biblical scholar or any of that. I mean, you can be an atheist. And if you're a devil worshiper, you believe that there is a God. You just choose not to serve him, because it's a devil too. You just choose to serve the devil. So see, a devil worshiper do believe God exists. They just choose to serve the devil over God. Which, okay. Because I know one thing I learned from serving the devil is the price that you pay in the end ain't never nothing good. He like that backstabbing friend, that at first is all good, but come rob this bank with me, and then leave you in the bank, and then when you in jail, he just cut you off. You don't know nothing. He ain't sending you nothing. He ain't nothing, and he gonna go in there and tell on you, and sit back and laugh, and that's the devil. The devil is, screw your wife, man. She getting on your nerves. Look at this pretty young thing coming at you over here. Yeah, go ahead, take it. Come on, man. You deserve it. Like, look how your wife treating you. Yeah, go ahead. Sleep with her. Then you do it. Then when you get caught, the devil say, I ain't tell you to do that. Because, see, what we don't understand is what some of us might and don't care, but a lot of us may not understand that's the devil's whole job, is to steer us away from God and to get us into the most trouble. The most trouble he can get us in, and then abandon you. That's why, like I said, it's like a form of possession. We do all types of wicked things, but then when it's come time for the trouble, now you're aware. Now you can feel that fear, you feel the punishment, you feel the suffering. But when you're doing the act, you black out. You're in a state of euphoria, like you in a whole different zone. Like when lust take over, and you commit a lustful act. You for a minute you outside yourself, like you out of control. You done gave over all your will to the devil. You can't control yourself. So now, and the act feels so good at that moment, and then as soon as it's over, guilt rush in, fear rush in. Oh man, what I just do? The same thing like if you kill somebody, then black out, anger takes over. And the minute after the act is committed, you come to your senses. The devil abandoned you now. When demons leave your body. And now you're on your own to suffer the consequences. That's what they do. They deceive us. And they set you up and they set traps. That's what they do. And the more naive you are, the better. Because they'll have you thinking you satisfied and you getting what you want and you winning. These rappers doing it heavy today, with the type of music that they making and the type of lives that they living, and they think they winning, like they really think they winning. But then guess what? They end up dead or in jail. And you a rapper, you got millions of dollars. You still going to jail? You mean somebody still gonna get that close to you? It was a time when common folk couldn't get close to no millionaire to kill them. Now the devil's setting them up. Bad pride. Telling them, oh man, you're a sissy if you have real security. You're a sissy. This thing is designed where, you gotta live the life you rapping about. And if you rapping that life, then you can't have no security. You gotta ride solo. You gotta always prove your toughness and your manhood and that you a gangster. Set you right up. And then some regular Joe take you out. Because that's what the devil do. He give you all that lavish stuff, the cars, the women, the houses, the money, and you flaunting it on TV and all your jewels and this, that, and the third, and all your songs, you bragging about what you got, and you bragging about, how you run through the women and disrespect them, and you bragging about, how you killed this one and that one, and how you don't need no security because you got it on you and all that. And then some regular Joe out of nowhere off you. Some chick set you up. So say he give you what you want for a short time with a whole lot of problems, but God give without strife. You just got to accept what God give you and trust that's all you need. Because God know what he doing. I don't. I'm going to be honest. I'm just catching on. And I'm trying to pass it on. But again, if you see, and you could tell, because like some people, and I don't condemn nobody to be no certain way to the day they die. That ain't for me to say. Like if somebody doing bad things or living a bad life, I'm gonna say, oh well, that person ain't never gonna change. That ain't for me to say, because people said that about me. So that ain't my place. That's judgment. Now I'm doing God's job. But some people, it was easier for me to back away from. Real easy. Because it's like, okay, not right now. It's like nothing there. It's like God hardened my heart towards them or removed them from my heart. But with some people, if that don't happen, then it ain't meant to happen. Especially once you bring God in your life and you say, God, if this person is not for me, remove this person from my heart, please, and from my mind. Now, he'll tone it down, clear your head, so you'll do things his way. If he just wants you to back off him, cut him off, but still love him and pray for him, then that's what you're going to do. Because he might be fixing them up to put you back together later. It's just you couldn't do it. Because you don't possess that power. I don't possess that power. So if that's the case, see, you got to be aware, and God makes you aware. You got to know what's going on. You got to be observant. You got to say, okay, well, if somebody, other people I've been through similar issues with like this, I was able to back away from these people much earlier. And even to this day, like that love or whatever never came back, and that's in that way for that person. Because maybe that person ain't going to get it together no time soon, or maybe never. But that's not for me to say. But if you maybe been back and forth with somebody, and it might look like it's done and over with, and like they don't love you no more and none of that, and you okay with that now, and you accepting it, and you getting yourself together, but you still got love, you still got them in your heart, enough that you still concerned about them, enough to know you can't help them, but enough to pray for them and ask God to help them. It might be something there that's going to be beautiful later, and then you look back, and y'all look back at the tail of the tapes and be like, wow, that's why we couldn't communicate. That's why I couldn't maintain and grow at that time. This is why this, and this is why that. And then you go on and you use your life and your story, your personal stories and your story together to help somebody else. And that's all I'm trying to do. And I'm work in progress myself. My story is not complete. I don't know. I guess it ain't complete to the day I die. But yeah, I'm just trying to help somebody else, and I'm helping myself at the same time by being able to speak about these things today and put them in perspective. God gave me that ability, and I'm thankful for that. And I know I said a whole heck of a lot. This is an hour and a half. But for the most part, be mindful. Accept God in your life if you want change and you believe. I'm not telling nobody believe that don't believe in God. Hey, man, you better. Or if you're an atheist, you better, believe in God. Or if you're a devil worshiper, you better stop believing in the devil. No, I ain't telling nobody that. Again, God gave us free will, and who am I to take it? But what I'm saying is, if that's what's on your mind and you having issues and you looking for problems, turn to God. And then be aware of what's going on in your life. If you have relationship issues, whatever kind of issues, but understand this. You got to do the work on you first. And that's all the work you have to do. You don't have to do the work on the other person or for the other person. You can't. You got to work on you first and stop. So you preparing to be a better you for somebody else, not just for yourself. And if you love that person and God says yes, then you got to wait and let God do what he do his way in his time. And keep your hope if it mean that much to you. If it don't, it don't. But if they do, that person does, then, and you see the pattern, you see, because God will let you see too. And you see like what's going on, and you see the work and the possibilities and what's things forming, then back up and let God do it. And stop trying to do it yourself, because you're going to keep being disappointed over and over and over. And I'm just telling you what I know from experience. I'm just sharing with you, but I learned the hard way. That's it. So, like I said, I know this was a long video because, like I said, I'm helping myself too. I needed to get all that out. I really did. And whoever watched this, I hope that it can help you. Good night. And you know what it is. This has been another Yo World production. And thank you for your time, everybody. Good night.